We went 4-1 on our last video, and I've got the juice on another 7 players in this upcoming slate. If that sounds interesting, let's get into it. Y'all motherfuckers, when they get some free tips, best bets, go ahead and flex some. Pick winners all the time, hit it on a daily. This is all free, you don't even have to pay me. What's up, everyone? We had a huge day on the NBA. We went 4-1 on the picks from the last video. I've got another 7 players for you to consider. All of these players have a great matchup and solid form heading into this one. Before we get into it, here's a quick recap of yesterday's picks. Giannis didn't play. Kyrie Irving didn't play, so we got money back on those. Gary Trent, we needed 17.5 points. He had 21 at halftime. Ben Simmons, over 15.5 rebounds and assists. My man got a triple-double. We needed Dame Lillard over 35.5 points and rebounds. I said he could cover it on points alone, and he did. I think he finished on 44 points. And we wanted Nikola Jokic over 25.5 points. My man got well over 30. And our last leg was a failure. We didn't get the sweep. It was James Harden over 16.5 rebounds and assists. I know a lot of people were chasing James Harden, and he had an absolute stinker against the Clippers. So not the perfect day, but an excellent one nonetheless. Now, let's get into today's picks. We'll kick it off with a bit of a lean because none of his markets are available at the moment. But I'm leaning Kyle Kuzma in his points, rebounds, and assists. He had a stellar game against them already this season against the Knicks. Their weakest link is in the small forward position. So depending on where that lands, definitely something I think you should consider. The second pick, we're looking at Christian Wood over 9.5 rebounds. I've picked players in this position quite often against Atlanta, and that's because since Clint Capella has been out, the Atlanta Hawks give up the most rebounds to opposing centers in the league. The last 5 centers who have faced Atlanta have covered their rebound line. Looking at Christian Wood to make it 6 in a row. He's covered this line in 4 of his last 10 games. So his form's a little bit up and down, but when he rebounds well. If he does cover this line, I wouldn't be surprised to see him 14, 15, 16 rebounds. So taking Christian Wood. The next play, we're looking at John Collins over 21.5 points and rebounds in the same game. He's covered this line in 7 straight games against the Dallas Mavericks. 2 games against the Mavs last season, he averaged 19 points and 13.5 rebounds. He's covered this line in 6 out of his last 10 games, averaging 23 points and rebounds in that span. He's perfectly capable of covering this line on points alone. Now, Dallas gives up the 4th most points and the 5th most rebounds to power forwards. So have a look at John Collins up against the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow. My next pick is Alperen Sengun, over 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Now, he's only covered this line twice in 10 games. He's only averaging 28 points, rebounds, and assists in that 10-game span. But we're taking him because he's been a focal point for the Rockets' offense lately. He recorded an astonishing 33 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 assists against the Lakers, who have a very similar record against centers to Charlotte. Now, Charlotte allows the 2nd most points, the most rebounds, and the 7th most assists against centers this season. Look for Sengun to maintain the wonderful performance that he put on against the Lakers. Loving him. Our next pick in that same game, we're taking LaMelo Ball over 8.5 assists. I did consider points in this one, but he hasn't performed well in the points category against the Rockets, so only looking at his assists. He's covered 8.5 assists in 6 of his last 10 games. He's got an excellent matchup against the Rockets. They allow the 4th most assists to point guards this season. His recent form is a little bit patchy, but I've noticed a bit of a trend here with young LaMelo Ball. When it's his first matchup against a team, he tends to explode on the assists. When he does verse them again, he tends to go under. So if you look at his recent games, 14 games in the first matchup against the Raptors, followed up by 7. He had 9 assists against Boston, followed up by 6. And his 2 games against the Rockets last season, very similar. 13 assists in the first matchup, followed up by 7. So in this first matchup today, liking LaMelo Ball to go over his 8.5 assists before they have a time to game plan against him. Our very next pick, we're looking at Miles Turner over 17.5 points, but I'll also be taking him for 2 3-pointers made. You can get great value for that. Why? Now, in 2 games, Tyrese Halliburton's been injured. Miles Turner's averaging 27 points per game in those 2. He's averaged 10 shot attempts per game this season. In the 2 games without Halliburton, that's increased to 17 attempts per game. He's also averaging 7.5 3-point attempts in those 2 games, and he's making an average of 4. His line is set at 1.5 for this one, so I'll be taking him for 2 3-pointers as well. Now, OKC do lack some size inside, but surprisingly, they have defended the center position okay this season. I think their weakest spot defensively is around the power forward spot, but the Pacers don't have any offensive threats in that position. So, like a Miles Turner to go over 17.5 points and to make 2 3-pointers while he's at it. Take that. Our very last pick, we're looking in the Clippers game. We're taking Ivica Zubac over 8.5 points. Now, he's fresh off getting slapped by Joel Embiid. I think Embiid, 41, 44 points. So I'm backing him to bounce back and eat against the Jazz. He's covered this 8.5 line in 6 of his last 10 games. He's averaging 10 points per game in that span. He has an excellent matchup against Utah, who allow the most points and rebounds to the center position this season. He's covered this line in all 3 games. He's averaging 12.5 points per game against Utah. So, boom, shakalaka. So we just went through 7 players to consider in less than 7 minutes. I hope you liked it. If you did, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We're growing rapidly, looking to get 1,000 subscribers by the time the NBA playoffs kick off. We are well on track for that. Let me know in the comment section if there's somebody I may have missed. I'd love to take a look. I'll see you in the next video.
Y'all motherfuckers, when they get some free tips, best bets, go ahead and flex some. Pick winners all the time, hit it on a daily. This is all free, you don't even have to pay me.